Hello and welcome back to the Second City podcast. My name's Callum, and as always, I am joined by Daniel. Dan, hey, how's it going? Good weekend?
Daniel, very formal
Yeah,
there.
I'm not doing that
Never
again.
call me. You never call me Daniel as well. Yeah, good, thank you. Yeah, very, very good weekend. Yeah, how about you?
Yeah, not too bad. I played five-a-side and then have just rested my aches and pains for 2 days.
Fair enough. I
That's been it.
very good. I went to meet one of my blues heroes this weekend, I must say.
Yes, you
As I
did.
was telling you about, I've just got the photo back here for the YouTube viewers. That's me and Stephen Carr. Don't know how well you can see that. But yeah, went to an evening with Stephen Carr on Saturday night. It was pretty cool. Good night out. Got a handshake and got to have a quick chat with the man himself. Obviously a Blues captain when we won the Carling Cup. And yeah, just a really good night, good laugh and everything. So got me thinking though, who's the most famous? You must have met a few footballers, Cal. Who's the most famous Villa player you've met? And
Oh,
if it's a different answer, the most famous footballer you've met in general.
in terms of
Doesn't have to
Villa
be one.
players,
Doesn't
I
have to
don't
be
think
one, maybe if you got a few.
I don't think I've met any Villa players. I've met Martin O'Neill a couple of times.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
And
You never met any Villa players?
I don't think so. Not that
Wow.
it comes to mind. I had a great experience with Martin O'Neill, and he was always really good with me. This is going back to like 2010, 2009.
Hmm.
So we did BRMB or Tom Ross's old station anyway.
Free radio,
They
yeah.
yeah, so they did like an evening with Martin O'Neill.
Yeah, that's
Um,
what this sort of thing was, yeah.
Yeah, they did it for like three out of his four seasons, I think, or he might even have done it for all of them. And anyway, the one we went to, it's when we were in the UEFA Cup, and John Carew didn't play because he'd been out clubbing the night before. And I remember I'd like misheard on the Channel 5 coverage as to why he was out, and I'd heard he was injured, but obviously the rumors were that he was partying, and that's why he wasn't in the squad. So I asked Martin O'Neill, why didn't John Carew play? Because my
Sure.
dad said he was out partying all night, but I thought he was injured. And Martin O'Neill
Sure.
like laughed it off, and it was a really funny moment.
Oh, that's
Fast
nice.
forward 12 months, we're at the next event. This one was at the Cadbury Club. So it's
Oh,
literally
yeah.
like round the corner from
Yeah,
from
yeah.
mum and dad's. And anyway, they sort of pause like the interview halfway through because they're talking about how the last one won an award. And Martin O'Neill then goes, "Oh," and this is 100%, this genuinely happened. He goes, "Is that kid who asked me about John Carew from last year here this year?" Obviously I was, so I stood up. And it was really awkward because I was like just stood up in this whole like,
Sure.
"Hi."
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, he signed loads of stuff for me over the years. But that night in particular, he wasn't doing any signings. And like I had a shirt and like a couple of match attacks and things. And so we went to the security guard and said, and they were like, no signings, no signings. And we were like, tell them it's for Callum and he'll sign it.
Hmm.
And he did. And
Oh,
I've
wow.
got the shirt. I don't have it with me. I'll see if I can. I'll dig the picture out and I'll put it on the YouTube video. He wrote to Callum, you're a real hero, Martin O'Neill. And then so we're walking out and I'm buzzing because I got my shirt, my signed shirt. And and then all of a sudden there's this hustle around one of the cars and it's Martin O'Neill. And he's not doing pictures and he's just wanted to get in the car. And my dad goes, and it's so my dad, if you've ever met him, he goes, Martin, you have a picture with Callum. And he steps out of the car. He had one
Oh, that's
signed
class.
thing that night and one photograph, and it was with me. And
That's very nice.
so
That's very
I'd
good.
love to meet Martin O'Neill again now, like 10
Yeah,
years later.
yeah. Oh, we'll have to get him on someday, hopefully,
Yeah.
Martin, if you're
Martin,
listening. This
come
is
on the
the
Second City
Callum.
podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he it was pretty cool last night. My question for Steve and Carl was if you could play with another blues player before or since that you didn't get to play with, who would it have been? And his answer was Christophe Dugarry, which is a good, obviously, not going to argue with that. World Cup and Euros winner. Not going to argue with that too much.
So
Um,
it's an interesting question though, because obviously he arguably played in one of your best teams ever.
yeah, sure. I mean, it was kind of I wondered if you'd say like Bellingham or something. I kind of specifically wanted it to be like someone you didn't play with. Who would you say? But I suppose Dugarry was obviously a little bit before our time, but was like, outrageous player by all accounts. Um, but yeah, that was really interesting. I just find it interesting you like of because I've met I've never met any Blues managers, although I was on Late Kickoff, if you remember that. It was like a BBC afternoon, evening show. And Gary Rowett was there, but he wasn't the Blues manager at the time. It's before he was at Blues. So I didn't,
When he
I
was
think I
Burton.
might, I can't remember if I spoke to him. I think like, I remember like he was there, he was on the panel anyway, but I wouldn't really say I've met him. But a few players, met like Roger Johnson, Lucas Jukovic, Craig Gardner, Tommy Mooney, obviously now Stephen Carr. Um, but yeah, no, just yeah, a good night. Anyway, going way off track here. Um, FA Cup was this weekend,
It was
uh,
indeed.
and you played again this week, so we can actually talk about you can actually talk about a Villa game. So we'll talk about all that, and then we're going to get into some housekeeping stuff. Blues announced a big deal this week regarding the stadium, so get into that. Some little transfer news, but as always, we start with what we're wearing. So, who's going first this week, Cal, me or you?
Do you want to guess mine first, Dan?
Sure. I think I know what it is.
So we've got a home shirt, claret and blue Macron, Daffabet
Mhm.
on the front. Very I'd say for an Aston Villa home shirt, it's quite out there. So it is the claret body with the blue sleeves, but it's got these really thin blue pinstripes through the claret body. And then it's got this really nice, well, I say nice, it's got a collar on it, but there's no button. There was never a button to do it up. So it just sort of looks like very open collar.
Mm. Yeah.
Um, what's your guess, Dan?
I'm going to say 20. I reckon it's just before you got relegated, but I know it's not your relegation kit because you said you don't own any kits from that season. So I'm going to go the season before. I'm going to go 2014-15 home, like sort of Paul Lambert era.
Oh, he's hit the nail on the head.
Oh,
There was only
nice.
one thing you were missing, maybe two things you were missing though. It was Lambert and
Man, let me
Tim
guess.
Sherwood,
I was going to say I was. Oh, yeah, you got to the FA Cup
and
that
then the
year.
FA
Yeah.
Cup final. Yeah,
Is that why? Is that coincidence? Is that why you're wearing this
it
shirt?
it is it is another FA Cup themed kit this year.
Nice, nice. Very
Yes,
good.
so yeah, this is the home shirt from the year we got to the cup final. The only FA Cup final that um I remember us playing in. Obviously, there was the one in 2000 which we were
2000, yeah.
alive for, but I can tell you for a fact I don't remember that. So yeah, a really cool experience. So I've done the FA Cup semi-final. I think I've done two FA Cup semi-finals, but we obviously beat Liverpool in this shirt, which is probably the highlight of the season. One of the highlights of my supporting career, if you can call it that. Yeah, it's one of
Hmm.
the best games I've been to.
Career.
Yeah,
So
I know.
life as a fan. My
Yeah.
career as a fan.
And the other one was in 2010 when we lost, I think it was 3-0 to Chelsea. I think they beat Portsmouth in the final. We
Yeah.
never had a kick that day. So, um, not a great season. Paul Lambert's era came to an end when I think we lost 2-0 to Hull in the January and he was sacked after that. But the Lambert era in general was never great. It wasn't all his fault, but by the time we were hitting this sort of period, it just wasn't working anymore. Um, and the football was bad. I mean, we used to play some crap football. We were terrible around this era. I think we finished 17th in the end this season. Obviously, we did lose. I think on the penultimate game of the season, we got smashed by Southampton. Sadio Mane scored the quickest ever Premier League hat trick. And then on the final day, I think we lost to Burnley 1-0. Danny Ings got the winner. So we're in really bad form going into the cup final, which we got battered in as well. So the warning signs for the next season were all there. And that was before we got rid of our entire spine of the team. So obviously, that's someone we lost: Vlaar, Delph, Benteke. But I'd say this is the Jack Grealish breakthrough era shirt. So this is when he really broke into the team, especially under Tim Sherwood. And um, yeah, probably not the best shirt you'll ever find, but one which holds quite a lot of memories. That game against Liverpool was just insane. They were heavy favourites. Obviously, if they'd have beaten us, the final was on Steven Gerrard's birthday, and we could cause a big, we were just meant to roll over and lose so that, the TV companies could have Steven Gerrard's retirement game, the FA Cup final.
Is that what
Maybe
it was
this,
meant to be? Like, was that what they was kind of being
yeah,
billed as? They reckon he would have retired a year earlier if they'd had the cup.
yeah.
Right. Mm.
So. Oh well, maybe Steven Gerrard and Aston Villa, it was never meant to be, was it? Never
No,
meant to
no,
be.
not a great match. I feel like Steven Gerrard and most managerial jobs he has isn't a great match, to be honest. But we're one to talk. We've had one of our own.
Yeah.
Cool. What do you reckon for me? It's a blue, obviously home Lonsdale kit with like a white sort of stripe down the side and Flybe as the sponsor. It's coming off a little bit, but
Oh, it's an old kit. The badge looks different as well. So especially the one that's directly behind you. It looks smaller.
it doesn't have like it's very faint. The newer ones, yeah, they're kind of these older ones are smaller and they're not as well like kind of I don't know, the dimensions look a little bit off in comparison. The new one's a bit cleaner. I think some of them have like a white outline on them as well.
Uh,
But yeah, what we saying?
oh, well, this is early 2000s. I feel like I do remember this kit. I don't think it's quite. I always say it's like Heskey era, but I always like remember Heskey playing for more than 2 seasons with you. Um, I'm gonna guess somewhere around the 2004 era,
You're a
maybe
little
oh
bit
04, oh
off.
five.
This is 2006-07, this one is. So this is our promotion season under Steve Bruce where we went up automatically. So this is like Nicholas Bentner, Gary McSheffrey, Seb Larson, Fabrice Mwamba. And I wore the away kit of this one about a month or 6 weeks ago, the like the black and yellow one, if you remember that. Um so I talked a bit about this season then. It was kind of yeah, we finished second, we started really well and then had a real rut in sort of October, November time. And I think I remember me talking about there was a game where Stephen Clement scored like a really lucky, like deflected shot against
Yeah.
Derby away, and we won 1-0, and it just set us on this like mad run. Um, where we went on to yeah, finish second in the end, beat West Brom 2-0 at home. It's a great memory. But something I forgot to mention, I think on the previous one, and if we're going to try tie it into an FA Cup theme, maybe I did mention this before, I can't remember. But there's one where we drew Newcastle 2-2 at home in the FA Cup third round, then went to the replay at St James's Park and won 5-1 in this kit. That was just like outrageous. Like we were in the Championship, they were in the Premier League. And another game I definitely forgot to mention. So I'm wearing like a larger, but like a newer, larger version here. But here next to me, I have my original one, which
Oh
obviously
wow,
doesn't
look
fit
at
me
that.
anymore. I like yeah, I got this when I was about yeah 9 for Christmas, I remember. Um, but I've got this one as well because it's just a bit easier to show on the back and on the bottom. It has written 100 years of St Andrews, 1906 to 2006. So this was our 100th anniversary of St Andrews kit. And on Boxing Day, we played QPR at home and we won 2-1. And that was like the big 100th anniversary game. And they got like the whole of the tilt and end to hold up like the paper and it spelled out like the 100. And I remember I went to that game with my dad, and for the whole first half, the QPR keeper just kept having everyone turn their pieces of paper into paper airplanes for the
That
whole first half. It was just like,
that's like the Second City Derby a few years ago when
yes,
they gave all your fans the
do the
clappers.
clappers. It's just not a good idea. Don't give Blues fans stuff. It was brilliant. That's like on the tannoy, they had to keep asking the fans to stop. And like people like weren't really watching the game. Like every time a paper airplane was getting like further onto the pitch, people would like, whoa, hey. Um, so yeah, great memories of this season though. And the only shame was we didn't win the league. We got promoted with a game to spare. Um, and I think we lost to Preston away the last game in Sunderland. Roy Keane's Sunderland pipped us to the title, which was ridiculous because we were the best team in the league that year, genuinely. But yeah, a lot of great memories. It's kind of that age, sort of 9, 10, when you're kind of really obsessed with it, and that obsession really kicks in, sort of. So yeah, 2006-07 home is this one.
A
But
classic.
yeah, so that's Steve Bruce era. But maybe tune in next week for some more details, potentially.
Mhm.
But more on that later. So yeah.
Yeah. Into the football then.
Yes, you played first this weekend. You played on Friday night. Obviously, FA Cup fourth round this weekend. So,
Yeah, so the long-awaited return to the FA Cup fourth round, and
mm.
we enjoyed it so much. We're going to do it all again next week.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, yeah, so we had Chelsea on Friday night. Not the easiest draw I think we could have had. And while Chelsea have really struggled in the last 12 to 18 months, they've kind of picked up a little bit in recent weeks. And their home record actually hasn't been too bad. While they've really struggled for points, they haven't dropped many at home. You know, you think Arsenal haven't won there this season, Liverpool haven't won there either. Manchester City didn't win there as well. So not an easy ground to go to, even though Chelsea are a bit rubbish. On another day in the FA Cup fourth round, there'd be no VAR, and I'd be sat here going, "Well, we won 1-0," but alas, VAR was there, and the correct decision was there to rule out the Douglas Luiz goal. Although it is quite amusing that it's been ruled out for handball, but no Chelsea player was appealing for that. They were appealing for an offside, and it wasn't an offside at all. I didn't think we played too badly. We were not the better team in the first half, especially after the disallowed goal. We did really struggle. But the second half, it just felt like a matter of time until we were going to score, and we just couldn't quite find the back of the net. So 3-word match review will be another clean sheet because, Dan, we have not conceded a goal in 2024.
Wow, that's mad. In how many games? Three, four?
Three games.
Even so, that's not bad.
So it's been, if you think about the back end of 2023, we obviously let 2 goals in at Burnley, 3 at Manchester United, and then we just weren't keeping clean sheets. I was coming on here every week and going, God's sake, can we keep a clean sheet? And now we've got 3 in a row. So, that's mostly thanks to my man of the match as well, which was Emi Martinez. No player really stood out, but Chelsea had a couple of good chances and he made some good saves and kept us in it as he always does. And so I will give it to him. And so if I was to grade the performance as well, I gave the Everton game a C. So it's probably on par with that. It's a very similar game. We had a disallowed goal and just couldn't find the winner. So I'm going to give it a C again. So we've not been spectacular into 2024, but I think the next week or so we could really pick up some momentum, and I'm really optimistic for the next few games that are to come.
Very good. When's the replay? Is it going to be a week on Tuesday or Wednesday, maybe?
So it's not. Yeah, it'll be a week on Tuesday, I think. So the no ticket details have been released yet, but
Cool.
almost certainly. Yeah. And we'll get into the housekeeping as well, where you'll
Yeah, of
already
course.
know. But I'll tell you who we've got in the 4th round.
Very good.
5th round if we win.
If you win. I actually don't know, so that'd be interesting. But yeah, and the reason I don't know is because I didn't watch the draw because Blues are out, sadly. We've never won the FA Cup, and 2024 will not be that year either.
Maybe next year.
Maybe next year. Because we lost 3-0 away at Leicester, who are obviously top of the championship. Like we always draw championship teams, so like try and get excited for the cup competitions, but we just always draw. Like I feel like it's been a long time since we had like a really exciting draw. But 3-0, I think flattered Leicester a bit. I said last week it kind of felt like a free hit almost because it's like, Mowbray's coming in. We really need to just stabilise the league. And I'm not normally one to say prioritise the league and the league only because I think the cup is there for a reason. But it really, like Mowbray's really only been there a few games. If we lost, it's not the end of the world at all. Against a team that are running away with the championship. But 3-0 is mad because at halftime it was 0-0, and I have no idea how it was 0-0. We were unreal in the first half. I don't know if you've seen some of the chances we had. We should have been 3-0 up ourselves at halftime. We were outstanding in that first half. Leicester literally couldn't get out of their final third. It was unreal. Stansfield had hit the post. Dembele had a great chance right before half time. Keshi Anderson was all over them. Genuinely, we were outstanding. We looked so up for it and we did everything but score. So obviously, 90 seconds into the second half, Jamie Vardy scores. Obviously, that's just it's inevitable. It was we didn't play anywhere near as well, but we played Leicester away in the FA Cup 5th round in 2020. And that was another game where we played really well, and it just stank of like, Leicester are going to score here. It's going to be one of them. And once they got the first goal, they really asserted themselves a lot more in the game. We weren't out of it completely, but the quality showed. Like, as well as we played in the first half, Leicester are a better team, a much better team, and they've got players. Their second string team is better than most first string teams in the championship. And you know who was unreal? It pains me to say it. Mark Albrighton, he absolutely shredded us. Him and Vardy, it was a proper like 2015
a throwback, yeah.
yes, 2016 vibe. So yeah, and then they added a second and third, and they had another one ruled out for offside in between the first and second. I haven't seen it back, but to me it looked onside, so we were maybe or it looked like he was in line, so probably should have stood from what I saw. But so I can't complain. Disappointing, but it's one of them. I think it kind of again we're seeing. I think I mentioned when I was reviewing the whole game, the replay, the difference between like our starting players and our second string players. Mowbray went with a much stronger starting 11 this time. But when we made subs, we're bringing on players. I'm not Tyler Roberts, for example. He's barely played for us. I'm not criticizing him, but he's certainly not up to the level yet of like being a top championship player for us yet by a long way. We're bringing on like Mark Roberts and like Ollie Burke and stuff, and it's like these are not players I'm a huge fan of, if I'm honest. And I just thought Mark Roberts within 90 seconds of coming on was out of position for the goal. So yeah, is what it is. So because of all that, as well as we played in the first half, we lost 3-0. So I'm going to score it like a D. I'm going to grade it a D. I feel like I really can't go higher than that, can I? Even if we did play well.
No.
Um, my man of the match would be though, Ivan Sunjic. He's like on the whole he's been good this year, and I thought he's just loads of energy, really on it with the press, really contributing. He is a walking yellow card, but he really does put a shift in for the team, and he's not one to shy away from a tackle, and I appreciate that, and I thought he showed that in the game. Let Leicester know that they were in a game with us. And my three-word match review then would be unlucky. Never mind. As rock and roll as that is,
Yeah.
uh, it's a shame. I'd love us to go on another cup, a proper cup run. We haven't made it to the quarterfinal since 2011. That's a long time, especially seeing as we did it quite a few times in that period, like just before that. So not this year, but I think hopefully I feel like I say this every year, but hopefully if we can stabilize over these next few years under these new owners, we can start prioritizing cup runs as well, because that'd be great. But yeah, on to the next one.
And another year without the second city derby.
I know, yeah, I know. Although I'm not too sad about it right now, to be honest. I feel like I won't be too of all the years to avoid. Yeah, this is probably a good
Yeah.
one. Cool. Shall we move on to a little bit of goings on outside of the matches themselves this week?
Yes, we'll do a little bit of housekeeping. Obviously, about an hour after we finished recording last week, Villa announced the signing of Kosta Nedeljkovic, who we said we don't have any information on, but he might be signing like an hour before. So he's signed. Dendoncker has left on loan to Napoli with an option to buy. What a great move for him. Absolutely
Yeah, big
wicked move.
fun.
He's going to be in the Champions League round of 16
I
in
was
a
gonna
couple
say
of weeks.
they've been unreal the last few years, haven't they?
Yeah. So that's a great move for him, and I think it's a 9 million euro option to buy. So I mean, if that gets that's a good return, really. So we've only really spent like 6 million on him, really. Then, so that's not too bad. Um, and the other thing is the FA Cup. So should we beat Chelsea at home, a week on Tuesday or Wednesday when they announce the television details, I assume it'll be on telly this time. We will be playing either Leeds or Plymouth at home. So a favourable draw
Mm.
um, at home, which would put us in a great chance of getting to the quarterfinals of the FA Cup. So price it right, Villa. Do not charge 35 quid or something stupid. If we make Villa Park a full house and get it rocking, then we could have a nice little FA Cup run. And the last time we had an FA Cup run was the year we got to the final, which was this season. So let's do it again.
Fair enough. Could be a pretty tasty atmosphere if it's Leeds as well. Obviously a
Yeah.
bit of history there. Been a few years. Oh no, wait, no, it's only been about a year since you played. But even so, be a feisty game, I'm sure. Um, with Blues on the transfer front, so there's been a few rumours about Sunderland winger Alex Pritchard. Obviously, there's a bit of a connection there between him and Mowbray, but the real sort of this may actually have been announced by the time this episode goes out. Because I'm very confident it will be a definite. Blues are apparently all set to sign a South Korean centre midfielder called Seung Ho is his surname. I'm not sure how to pronounce his first name. It's spelt Paik. Seung Ho is his name. Centre midfielder for the South Korean national team, and he's currently playing in South Korea. He actually doing a bit of research on him. He actually scored at the World Cup against Brazil in the round of 16. and he came through like Barcelona's academy and so on. Then didn't quite cut the mustard there, moved away, found himself back at Girona in La Liga. And now he's back in South Korea, and he's yeah, by all accounts, a big name in South Korea. So centre mid, and it seems as well like as Bielik has moved more into a central defensive role, we seem to be trying to fill the centre mid role more. Like obviously Dazelle has come in already. Now this player on free transfer as well, going to be a permanent free transfer by all accounts. So should be interesting to see how Mowbray slots him in. It seems like he's maybe more of a I was reading about him. He's a centre mid, but also like a defensive mid. He sometimes plays as specifically. So he seems like maybe he'll be more of a deep line player that can get the ball and progress forward, which seems to be something that Mowbray is looking to do quickly, like win the ball and get us into a system of moving the ball forward quickly, which as talented a player as Bielik is, he didn't really seem to be doing. But until we see him in action, uh, can't know for sure. But the reason we're so confident, or I'm so confident, is he was actually seen and photographed at the Blues women's game today against London City. So it looks like it's probably going to be announced Monday morning, most likely. So yeah, keep an eye on that one. But the real big news comes away from transfers. So Blues, you may remember, Cal, we were St Andrews had a name change a few years ago.
Oh yeah, the
Uh,
to Trillion Trophy Asia at St Andrews or
Yes,
something.
it was the St Andrews Trillion Trophy Stadium, I think is what it was called, or the Trillion Trophy Asia Stadium. I can't remember. Sounds terrible because it is. Uh, but Blues, so they put a statement out this week saying Birmingham City announces naming rights partnership with Knighthead Blues Stadium to be renamed St Andrews at Knighthead Park, and the at is literally like on your computer, on your keyboard, like an at. Um, on the absolute surface, sounds like, oh, not again. One of these, like, it's like when St James's Park was renamed the Sports Direct Arena and all that.
Yeah.
Not, not all. This is very positive news, it sounds like. So, just going to read you a little bit of the statement. Birmingham City is pleased to announce it's entered into a multi-million pound, multi-year naming rights agreement with Shelby Companies Limited, which is majority owned by Knighthead Annuity and Life Assurance Company, and certain other minority investors, including Tom Brady, collectively known as Knighthead. It is the largest commercial agreement in the club's history. Then it goes on to say, under the terms of the deal, the club's stadium and the training ground at West Hills will be renamed under the Knighthead branding, and a new fan entertainment zone at Knighthead Park will be built, situated on club-owned land close to the Tilton and main stand. So it says the renamed stadium, ground, and fan zone will launch by the end of this season. And the value of the agreement is based on an annual sponsorship fee, men's first team performance related bonus, and a club wide social media performance related bonus. And it says by the end from between the deal going through and the end of this season, the value of this could reach over £6 million for this season. And in the first full year of the partnership, the value could reach close to £10 million. And the statement goes on to say how they're looking to make this the center of like a sports quarter in Birmingham, which kind of matches what the club have said, what the new owners have said so far. This isn't just about investing in Birmingham City Football Club. This is about investing in the city as a, making Birmingham and the city a much closer entity again, which obviously has not been the case over the last few years. All the clubs actually been very distant and almost forgotten about really in kind of the culture of Birmingham locally, I think, other than like the fans themselves. So I hope that wasn't like information overload for you. I think what I'm saying essentially is it's a way of investing a load of money into the club without breaking FFP regulations. The naming thing, they've come out. The big difference is that obviously St Andrews at Knighthead Park. No one's going to call it that. It's just going to be
No,
St
no.
Andrews. Doesn't sound as stupid as Trillion Trophy Arena or whatever it was. And they've at least come out and explained why it's very clear why they're doing it. It's like
Yeah.
it's essentially a way to invest money in the club, stabilize the club financially, and invest it in other areas. So it should be a really exciting thing. And I think the way they're talking about kind of making Birmingham this like sports quarter, it says the ambition for the sports quarter is to create a globally recognizable sporting and entertainment location, a beacon of excellence, providing the world's greatest athletes and performers a platform to showcase their talents. Recreational, mixed use, and other space will be developed for the enjoyment and benefit of the local community. Sounds fantastic. That is obviously we don't. That's still a bit vague. We don't know the exact details,
Yeah.
but that's kind of all we need at this point to be excited about it. And it's things like this that I think are making people so excited about the next 5, 10 years at Blues all being well. And I think even uh, not to put words in your mouth, but like even as a Villa fan, you must think things like that for like the local community and stuff. It's great to see like investment in these
Yeah.
things, you know.
Yeah, and it's like what we said when there was the rumors about the new stadium the other week. You're talking about the being able to host NFL. Villa Park will never host American football, and to be honest, I
Mm.
don't want them to because they'll just tear the pitch to pieces.
Sure.
Um, but like if you take Tottenham Stadium, they have a separate pitch for the NFL, and they swap the
Built
pitches
for it,
over.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so if it's all good for the city, and the city needs the two clubs to be playing each other at least every couple of years.
Mm. Yeah, competition is healthy. But yeah, it all sounds really exciting. I'm sure we'll have more details come out over the coming months and years. But yeah, really exciting. So the largest commercial agreement in the club's history, making really positive steps. So yeah, something to keep an eye on as well. Very exciting.
So this week's matches, Dan. Should we do Villa first, or do you want to do Blues first?
I don't mind. I don't mind. Who are you playing this weekend?
So we've got Sheffield United on Saturday with the late kickoff on Saturday. Sheffield United. I don't know if I'm going to be able to watch it this week. So
Oh, really? Are you watching
um,
the Traitors again?
no, the trait's finished. Oh my God, that's amazing.
Okay.
No, so I'm going on holiday on Saturday. So
Oh, you are.
uh,
Yes.
I will be in Austria. So I'm gonna have to try and find a bar in this small village in the middle of the Austrian Alps to see. Are you showing Sheffield United versus Aston Villa?
Sure. Well, it sounds like a good dilemma to have, to be fair.
Yeah.
What are you expecting?
I was trying to think that like our record at Bramall Lane isn't great really. I'm trying to think of the last few times we've been there. Um, we've lost our last three there, I think, if memory serves. So we lost 1-0 the last time we played them, the year Sheffield United got relegated. David McGoldrick scored the only goal. The time before that, we lost 2-0, I think. I think it was a Lundstrom and Fleck, I think, and Jack Grealish hit the bar with a penalty. And then the time before that, under Brucey, we got smashed 4-1 in the promotion season. So, but the time before that, Robert Snodgrass, who's just retired, um, scored an absolute worldie in like the 87th minute. Unreal goal. So it's not been a happy hunting ground for us, really, Bramwell Lane. Um, and obviously, Sheffield United are not great at the moment, and they're probably going to go down. Although they have picked up a little bit in recent months. Not enough to stay in the league, but not as bad to get embarrassed like they were going to.
Yeah, it's not going to be like a
Um,
record low or anything.
no, no. But I think we're looking a bit more solid defensively, and I think, I know we should have really beaten them at Villa Park, and it just never really happened. But I think we'll find a way to win this time. I don't think it'd be by much. It'd be a 1-0 or a 2-0 at most. I'd be amazed if we did a Newcastle and rocked up and put 8 past them, I'll be honest. Um, but I think it'd be close. A draw wouldn't surprise me, but I will back us to get a win, I think.
Fair enough. You'll have to come up against the Rock Austin Trusty. It should be interesting. Um, cool. We've actually got one of our bigger games of the season. We've got West Brom away. Yeah, our derby, obviously, without Villa being in the league, for me, West Brom is in my opinion, West Brom is our next biggest rival. I know a lot of people would say Wolves, but for me personally, I think West Brom's a bigger deal. Obviously, they lost. We're recording this on Sunday. They lost today against Wolves, and
Although we
I'm really
don't know what the
hoping.
FA are going to decide, though.
Yeah, yeah. But I kind of hope that's like them, like their energy really knocked out of them. I hope that game has just taken so much out of them because it was obviously a very feisty game, and obviously there was a lot of stuff going on. Um, Maybe a bit faint praise, I guess, in a way, because they've got nearly a week to recover from it. But you know what I mean. Hopefully that Wolves game they've just put so much into that. They've been a bit hit and miss in the new year in general, but they are still in the playoff positions for a reason. They have had a really good run on the whole. Carlos Corberan's doing a much better job there than I expected. I thought Baggies would really drop off
Yeah.
like as the years roll on without them getting promoted. So going to be really tough. The weird thing for me is the game's on at 3 o'clock on the Saturday, not being televised.
I thought
Um,
this is like
so
normally a Sky Sports staple.
yeah, and like even if they don't televise it, I remember there was one where Lyle Taylor scored and they didn't televise it, but they still moved it to like the Sunday, and it made it a lot easier for me to get to and stuff. So yeah, bit strange. Not really sure what's going on there, but yeah, hopefully we played so well against Leicester despite the result. I do think we'll score. I think a score draw probably on the cards. I'm going to say 2-2. I think will be pretty fair. They were pretty like I know it's Wolves, but they were pretty bad against Wolves. Like they're like I think they are there to be got at. Yeah, I'm going to say 2-2 West Brom.
Lovely stuff. I think that probably wraps us up this week, Dan. It feels like it's been a bit of a shorter one today.
Sure, I suppose some of our episodes are like we have to edit them down from an
Yeah.
hour plus, but yeah, thank you so much for listening though. And as Callum mentioned there, he's off to the he's going to be stuck in the Alps with no signal probably. So we're actually doing something a little bit different next week. We're going to pre-record and do something a bit different, but absolutely tune in. Should be really good. Um, and until then, Callum. By the way, don't forget to follow us on all the channels on Twitter and
Yeah.
TikTok and so on.
Give us a like, subscribe if you're new, 5-star reviews, the whole lot. Go check out if you're on YouTube, look at the YouTube shorts. There's a few on there. They're just clips of the podcast, but there's some slightly different ones on there. Or go and view our TikToks as well. Go join the family over there.
Yeah, and you can find us everywhere with the handle at Second City Pod. That's 2ND City Pod.
Lovely stuff. Until next week, Dan, up the Villa.
Shit on the Villa, keep right on. See you next time, dude.